Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday, 7 o'clock on the dot, and that
Yeah.
always means that it's time for Sandman Sports. And today we're live in the locker room with Miss Lona Mabenya. Before I introduce Lona, again, welcome to it. We're live across three platforms. We're live on YouTube, Facebook,
My
and
goodness.
Instagram as well. If you're just joining us, don't forget to like, subscribe, drop your comments. Also follow us. We are across all social media platforms. So you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. Miss Lona, welcome. You're probably a legend in your own right. I said off air that if there's one person that should represent an MTN, it's you because you're literally everywhere.
No,
Um,
I just like causing chaos, I guess. I
yeah,
just like
as you
causing,
should.
yeah.
As you should.
Thank you for
Now, of
having
course,
me.
hey,
Thank you for having me, Fahida. Thank you very
thank
much for having me.
thank you for your time. I know your time is money with you because you're always on the move, you're always on the go. But of course, you carry such big titles. You of course are a two-time finalist, G Sport Award finalist for PR
Oh my
and
goodness.
sponsorship.
Yeah.
You've had the big job and the massive opportunity of being the master of ceremonies of the Netball World Cup, which was held in Cape Town in South
Yeah.
Africa. You really you carried the flag of this country on your shoulders. As usual, you we heard you before we saw you. Your fit game was on point as usual. There's so many things I can say that's just good
Yeah.
things that'll come from me. But of course, what you're mostly known as is obviously your work, which I've also have been one of the people in KZN had the privilege of seeing you grow from a one man show to this empire, which is slowly but surely and what probably looks like at a rapid pace is just growing to greater heights. And of course, that's Mabenya Sports.
Yeah.
Uh, just talk about how this now empire just all started.
Um, well, probably I should just give you a compliment for doing such a very good background check on me. Maybe I can just say that you forgot one most important thing, that I have three beautiful dogs that are gonna walk in anytime as we chat. So yeah, I think that's one thing that you forgot to mention. Injas Gaskulu are a well-known family on the Mabenya Sports and so forth. But thank you very much, Sandman Sports. I think you guys are doing an amazing job. When I got the invite, I went through all your social platforms and I saw the nature of the people that you bring in, and I felt so privileged that I had to come through to the interview today. But please, to the viewers at home and you, pardon me if I keep on coughing. I've got a little bit of a flu today. But yeah, but and nevertheless, sometimes when you grow up in a family that is very much sports orientated, it just rubs off on you. It just rubs off on you and stuff. My dad was a prominent rugby player. My late brother was a prominent rugby player. My older brother was a huge soccer star back in the days. My sister was a netball player. My other sister, I know she didn't like sports at all. She's more on business and so forth. Even my mom is a sports fanatic. So when it all started as me as being this lady that just likes playing football with everyone back at home in Mamakwe. And little did I know that that was my path in this thing that is called life. Little did I know that my God is going to send me to touch many lives through the talent that I had, which was playing football then. And little did I know that everything that I have acquired from education into the small things that I have been blessed there will be of a fan, of somebody that says, A combination of sport and education is one of the most critical combinations that we can ever have. So when I came to Durban after my matriculation, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a journalist, just like how you guys are doing. But my fate took me to sports management. I did sports management, and then I did BTech in business admin. I did my honors in marketing. I did my NQF level 6 in project management. I'm currently battling and fighting with my masters as we speak, but I also did my certificate with the University of Cape Town, in social management. But the reason why I'm giving you that background is that when I started to realize that I'm very much fond of sports, I then realized that look, there's business in sports. There's a flip side in sport. And then that's when I was fortunate enough that I worked for the KwaZulu Natal Sports Arts and Culture Department. I worked also with the eThekwini municipality, and I will forever be grateful for the investment that they made to me. And those investments were the investments that actually gave birth to the sports consultants business that you wanted to know how it actually came about. But yeah, that's how it came in. I took a leap of faith with all the education that I had acquired. I took a little bit of faith and said, "I my uNkulunkulu engimkhonzayo will definitely be with me." It's a learning curve. Every day I learn something new about me, something new about the sports. So yeah, basically that's how it came about. Yeah. It took me a long time actually to even tell my mom that I was doing sports management, because it was a very new something. Every time you talk about sports business, people will ask you, "Hey, Fahida, what do you play?" They don't understand that there's business side of things. So yeah, but fortunately enough, I have a very very supporting family from my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, and so forth. Yeah,
I like the point that you've just touched on. The fact that the idea around sports management
yeah,
and just back home, and I know that that comes from a lot of families of color where there's a big question mark around what is this thing? And is there money there? I think that's always the biggest question mark. And I think from just my own experience as
yeah,
well, that it's a thing of, aside from is there money, there's this thing of, oh, it's only teaching, it's only if you study law, medicine,
yeah,
um, those things that is going to bring back home, because there's other taxes that one needs to pay and
yeah,
homes that one needs to build.
yeah,
How did you break the news, if you will, that this is what I'm interested in. There
yeah,
is a future here. There's potential to make money,
yeah.
and grow a legacy, if you will.
Well, I think that's one of the most important question, Fahida, you can ever ask me, because it boils down to the responsibilities that each and every families have in supporting somebody's dream. But in my instances, I always tell people that the story is very easy to tell when your own life is a point of reference. So when I had an advantage because I was this young girl that used to play football with boys all the time, all the time. I gained my Safa Transkei colors back then. I gained my Eastern Cape colors. I started traveling with sports, and going into many, many things. I myself didn't even know that there was a sport related course at some point. Uh, so when I had to, fortunately, I have a very supportive system when it comes to my siblings. When I had to break the news that look, I'm not doing the law anymore. I'm going to be doing sports management. It wasn't an elephant in the room, because when I was growing up, they have already seen the amount of investment that I was actually doing into this thing that is called football back in the days, which took half of my time all the time. So it became very much easy that we know that one. She always wants to play football. She always wants to do that and that and that and that. But for someone who wants to break the news to the family, in nowadays we've got what we call as the societal demands. Because sometimes when Fahida wants to do something, Fahida's mom is gonna tell someone's mom, and then it becomes a chain within the society there where they say, no, 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 don't let her do that. There's no money there, and so forth and so forth. But sometimes when you have a very big supportive system, in particular the family, like I had, it then becomes much more easy, because the second news that I had to break to the family was the news that I'm actually now leaving employment and going to pursue this passion that I have in sports as an entrepreneur, or as a hustler, or as a business person. And once again, now I was drawing some strength from my family. So my appeal all the time whenever I have these kind of discussions is to also appeal to the parents to understand what is it that the children want to do when it comes to sports. Because you must remember, Fahida, that the game of football is not only about the 11v11 on the field. There's a
Mm.
couple of things. There's a production, there's a commercial side, there's marketing, there's any other things that you can ever do, because sports then becomes one of the biggest economic indicators globally. We don't I mean, we know what happened in 2010. We know what happened when the netball world cup was here. We know when the cricket under 19 was right here at in East London and so forth. So sometimes the responsibility also lies within us as the people that have got this passion, to make our parents, to make our family to understand that sports, I want to be marketing person in sports, I want to do this and that and that. So for me it became very much easy. Oh yeah, there's my sister commenting, oh, I remember the day like yesterday when you left work. Yeah, oh yeah, you see, that's the support that I was actually talking about. Yeah, that's actually my sister. So thank you very much, Sister Yonela, for that comment. It wasn't easy, but I'm hoping that parents back at home can embrace that kind of passion for their young ones.
Um, it's not an easy job, is it? To sort
Mm,
of in inverted commas be the first one to jump off the train
yeah,
track. You sort of
yeah,
become the train wreck
yeah,
to shake
yep,
things up, not just at home or in your family, but in your community. And that's
yeah,
and that's speaking into now sort of the work that you've started.
yeah.
You've called it the flip side of sport. Um,
Aha.
where you've now started the mentorship
Yeah,
of inspiring and taking all the work you've done, and perhaps that specific moment of breaking the news, because it was breaking the news
yeah,
to your
yeah,
family. "Kore,
yeah,
I'm leaving this job that I have, the
yeah,
stability, the
yeah,
security, to
yeah,
take a chance and that leap of faith."
yeah. Thank you, Faida. You see, the the flip side came in as something very new, because a lot of people knew me on the playing grounds, where we would sing, whether it's Shosholoza or Kusekaya La or whatsoever, which becomes the face of sport. Now, the biggest question that I had to ask myself was that, what kind of legacy do I want to leave in the upcoming youth and the upcoming generation, that do I want them to fell in a trap? The biggest opportunities that were available for anyone who was having a sports management course. So I then said to myself, look, this probably could be the reason that maybe I trained for quite some time, because when it came to football, I played football, I traveled with football, I worked in football, I did so many other things. But nobody ever sat me down, Fahida, and said, guess what? There's business here.
Mm.
Nobody ever said that to me. You understand? But as time went on and on and on, then I said to myself, perhaps the legacy that I can leave with the passion and the little knowledge that I've acquired through my education is to flip the coin. That's why we call it the flip side of sport, because on this side we have the sport participation where you have your your league and everyone, and then behind here there is somebody that is actually working like we are working now, that is talking about the
Mm-hmm.
commercial space of it, who's talking about the different streams, the different monetary streams that you can have. Somebody here is talking about talent management. Somebody here is trying to plan an event. Somebody here doesn't know all the compliance requirements that are needed in order for you to have a soccer tournament. Then I said, okay, let me try my level best with the little voice that I have and visit probably the higher institutions, because that's where we started it, visiting the higher institutions. And one person might ask, Fahida, why the higher institutions? Because at the higher institutions, you find yourself, I was a victim of not knowing what I was doing when I enrolled for sport management. I didn't know what I was doing for 3 years. Honestly, I always tell people that I was getting distinctions because back at home I needed to prove myself. But when I did my first year diploma, nobody came to me and said, look, this degree or this diploma that you are doing, these are the opportunities that you can have in terms of business. It's not about you playing. It's not about you, Fahida, taking your family into playing chess, darts, and no, 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 no. It's about you closing the gap between sports and business. And that's how now the whole concept of sports, the flip side of sport, became in, so that the next generation can see the opportunities that are there in terms of sports. Because remember, we are now, you and I are kilometers away from each other. We might be in Durban, but we are kilometers away from each other. But now, where does this thing of this digital space, this evolution of digital space, the AI that everybody's talking about, where does it fit in sports? Anyone who's sitting at home who feels that they can be commentators and so forth, how can they monetize all the passions that they have without them thinking that it's a thing for Abo Lona or it's a thing for Abo Fahida, or you know what I'm saying? So that's where the whole birth of the flip side of sport came about, just to give to share my story, to share that, look, if I did not have a big cup when I was growing up, you have a big cup, because now um, things like your COVID, they taught us how we can communicate while we are so
Mm,
far from each other. You understand? There's actually sports betting, which is like growing every day. And now,
mm,
how do they use sports betting to actually make money out of it? You understand? How can they take this one girl that has got so much talent and make them a brand? You understand? So that's where it comes in. I can speak about it from day night, but I'm very much grateful to the higher institutions, to the marketing people, to the media spaces that have actually taken some time to try and understand what is this flip side of
mm.
sport all about. Because if you take a coin and you flip it, there's always two sides. So basically, also in sports, there's two sides as well. There's a playing side and then there's a business side.
Your sister's asking, I hope this is recorded so we can share to many platforms. There's a lot of other people that needs to learn from this. Yes, of course, this will be up once the stream is done on all our platforms, YouTube, Facebook, I think Instagram as well, uh where you can watch again and take your notes if you've missed anything. I know Miss Lona is gonna drop a lot of bars here tonight. And educate us in the little space that we have. But on that note of the marketing, of the world of marketing and sports marketing
Yeah.
and business, what are your thoughts on the space? Do you think it's growing in a way that you didn't think it would have maybe 4 years ago exactly? 4 years ago it was 2020 and it was sort of one of the roughest patches the entire world has had to experience.
Um, I like watching many podcasts. And I'm a very firm follower of Lebu Lion, who deals with a lot of marketing activities. She when I attended one of her master class, she said something that was so profound that everything is marketing. And I didn't
Yes.
understand what she was saying. And she kept on saying, everything is marketing. Everything is marketing. Now, for you as Sandman Sports to actually speak to me, that is marketing of your brand. When you go to any game, whether it's netball, football, or anything, there's gonna be that one person that is gonna be carrying a phone and taking pictures and taking videos, and they don't have a specific business of doing that, but they do it on their own personal platforms. But they do not know that that is marketing. Because the minute that they screenshot what we are doing here and post it on their WhatsApp story, then the chain gets to be created, right? The world is moving so fast digitally that now, I mean, I can't even remember the last time I went to a shopping center, because everything is just on the app, on the app, on the app, on the app. The biggest question that we need to ask ourselves is the challenges that we are investing into capitalizing into this marketing space that is growing so fast. Because remember, today we had the premiership launch and so forth. But somebody that was not there can actually write up a story marketing. You understand? Because now the way that the digital space has evolved, it then means Guti, each and every person that is a sports entrepreneur or that is a sport enthusiastic person has got a responsibility to tell us all the stories. But how do you then turn those stories into making them into a monetary space for you? You understand? Because I'll make a typical example, Fahita, and say, how many soccer teams, when you drive around Durban or anywhere, you see training? And you find that the coach in that team has got a cell phone, the manager has got a cell phone, the assistant coach has got a cell phone, everyone has got a cell phone. But how much time do they actually think and say, this cell phone that we have, we are actually carrying the world? Because everything that you put in that cell phone, it goes to the internet. And then how can you don't have to wait for a lot of marketing agencies, uh, people that have got big words or Mabenya Sports to come to you and so forth. No, 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 no. You have to create your own noise, because what COVID taught us was that we bridged the gap on the media space by taking our own small mobile phones and creating things that were never created before. And now in the century that we are in, we are all going towards the artificial intelligence. So basically, it's that you have all these resources within you, as particular a cell phone, and that cell phone, you can create the whole wide world with that cell phone and make your own TikTok, you make your own videos and what, and sell the concept of what you sell, and then you become a marketer. You don't have to go to like big schools and what, because the internet is just the biggest teacher that we have at this current moment. So yeah, the the marketing space is getting a lot, but as much as you want to get involved into it, you need to know the do's and don'ts. You need to know the do's and don'ts, because now a lot of people are taking each other into courts because of some of the things that people say and so forth and so forth and so forth. So we know that in South Africa we've got a Department of Communications that has got all these policies and laws on how we can use the social media and so forth. We all need to familiarize ourselves with those kind of policies so that we don't have to breach people's. I mean, we know there's Poppy Act, there's so many other things. So the minute you want to be a marketer is the minute you need to understand all those kind of things.
I think I think that's something that if there's something you've understood quite quickly is the power of what you're speaking about, and the power of the cell phone. And I think if anybody
Yeah.
knows you, they know that when there's Lona, there's something in her hand, and that is
So
always your phone.
you must sing for
You
me.
always move.
You must
Hey,
sing for me today. You must sing for me
I
today.
will. I will.
Yeah.
I think I should carry a vuvuzela moving forward, just so that when I see you, then I can. But like I've said, it's always Lona and her phone in her hand, and it somehow, somewhere, she always has battery life.
Yeah.
Her laptop is waiting for her somewhere. That is your setup, and that is
Yeah.
sort of how you've built Mabenya Sport. That is
Yeah.
literally the foundation of it.
Yeah.
And I think I'd like to believe that is what you've understood quite early on.
It,
Is that it's as simple as having one device to
yeah.
begin not just your personal brand, but this empire that you have now.
It is. You're quite right. You just need to be. I'm a very curious somebody. There are a lot of things that I still have not learned within the cell phone that I have. You know how you make videos, how you make TikTok. You will be amazed about how much things that the youth knows, and you'll ask yourself that how do they know this thing, and you like
Mm.
carrying this phone. So you just have to be constantly curious about things. Also, these social platforms, Fahida, is that the more you follow the people that inject life in you, is the more that you would want to be a better person. If you like
Mm.
sports marketing, or if you like sports eventing, or if you like sports talent management, anything that you like, you just have to follow the right people. You understand? You I love music. I love sport. I love so your timeline needs to be the kind of a timeline that you want to associate yourself with, because every day you're going to learn something new from those social platforms. But you must also remember that the biggest time killer of it all is the social platforms. If I were to show you now, um, just a minute.
Too much of a good thing can
Yeah.
destroy you, basically.
If I were to show you now, my screen saver is like that. It's like
Sure.
that. Yeah.
Powerful.
It's it's
Yeah.
it's got all the social platforms there, and then it's got fire, and then it's got
Mm.
time. That is how I remind myself not to spend too much time on the social platforms, because as much as I want to learn on the social platforms, as much as you always see me on the phone, but there needs to be time off on it, because anything, too much of anything is just not going to make anything. You understand? So I always try and remind myself that, oh, okay, sometimes you will see me vanished around the social platforms, because you need to take a little bit of a break and get a breather, and then find who you are, okay, and analyze yourself. Which space now am I in? uh, what are the trends that are happening? You understand? Maybe the strategies that you have been using for Sandman Sports, are they still relevant? Are they still appealing? You understand? So if you have a cell phone, you get to have almost the whole wide world moving just in you, just in a minute. But just be wary on how much time you actually spend on it, because it could be very much addictive.
I think it's important what you're saying. It's the concept of you are what you eat.
Yeah,
Your algorithm, what you feed your algorithm
yeah,
is what your algorithm essentially feeds back
yeah,
to you, and that's important. Um, not just not just with your phone or with your health, but your overall who you surround yourself with. And I think I myself and whoever um you're surrounded by, we're completely blessed to be surrounded by you because we
yeah.
constantly see you work, and we have you at arm's length, if you will, sort of
Thank
inspire
you,
and consistently show
thank
us
you.
the ropes, without ever needing to even speak with you. I think your work shows, it shows for itself.
I think I think you actually mentioning something very very profound, that I never paid attention to until recently. which is called the environment.
Mm.
The environment, Fahida, the people that you surround yourself with will definitely have an impact on you, because of the language that you speak, the behavior of the things that you do on that environment. And sometimes the environment that you find yourself in could be the most toxic environment that can actually pro, prov, like prevent you in being the best that you can be. You understand? And sometimes when you get rid of some of these environments, it's not a nice thing to actually do. But once you realize and you ask yourself, "What is this the environment I want to grow in?" If it's not the right environment, then you're gonna have to make one of the hardest things that we all face, and we all suffer to do, which I always speak about when I do the public talks, which is deciding. Deciding and dealing with fear is one of the most critical things that we have to do. I myself am also a victim of some of the environments I find myself in. I myself am also a victim of fear of some of the things, but I've learned to accept the fact that there is something that is called environment of where you are. You understand? Um, just when we were starting to speak, I was saying to you, I have three beautiful dogs, and I always ask myself, people always ask myself, ask me, why do you love dogs? Why? And I'll be like, a dog today, this morning, you'll fight with the dog, and then we come back, the dog will just be
Yeah,
so happy that the master is back. They are I love love. I love love. I love humanity. I love Ubuntu. I love that. I'm a victim of that in many instances. But whoever that is watching today, we are constantly on a fighting space with the environments that we find ourselves in. We are constantly in a space where we have to deal with something so small as fear. Do you know how many ideas you have, Fahida?
yeah,
That you've never explored because of that stupid little thing called fear.
it's true. It's true. I think I think that's probably everyone's biggest downfall is there's so much more on the other side of fear, and yet
Yeah,
fear is the exact thing that's holding us back from finding that and
yeah,
finding that, and that's a problem in the creative space, I'd like to think.
yeah.
And it's a
It is.
constant fight. It's a back and forth that a lot of us deal with, but slowly but surely fight that imposter syndrome and get through. I think
Yeah,
the key word here is fight. And I think I'm going to take the conversation a little bit, uh, give it a swerve a bit. We're heading into a very important month in this country, and it's Women's Month.
mm,
On the 9th of August, we celebrate probably one of the biggest days historically in South Africa. And
yeah,
and I I I couple that with the word fight because I think you and I both are in a space where we've seen people like you and I, women, fight, especially women of color, um, fight in the space of sports, and slowly but surely we've seen that change over the years. Um, Thanks to a lot of things, and thanks to conversations consistently happening, thanks to people standing up and seeing that there's a gap that needs to be filled, and building that bridge. And I'd like to think and believe that you've been one of the key factors in building that bridge or closing that gap. Just put the work you do aside from securing a gig or closing on a client. You've realized that there's potential in the women's space. I've seen you work at COSAFA games. I've seen you work in the netball spaces, um, and of course, it's just growing and it's showing as well. But oh, it seems we've lost you for a second now.
yeah.
But
We're
if you're
back.
just joining us, we are chatting with. Oh, you're back. We're chatting
Yeah,
with Lona Benya, who is the founder, owner, CEO, the heart and soul of Mabenya Sports and Flipside Sports, which is a
yeah,
marketing, a digital marketing a business, a platform for people to
yeah,
to sort of show their work. and she successfully done so. But I was throwing forward to you the question of how do you think we can continue to grow the space of women's sports just by the work that you do. Just to give an example, I think earlier today, I sent a friend of mine a video of someone speaking on the Wimbledon and just how the growth of the sport of tennis and tennis on grass specifically has just
Yeah.
grown immensely just by their off court work and the off court interactions. Um, Perhaps just your thoughts on how we can continue to grow the space of women's sports.
Um, to me, every day is Women's Month. Every day is Women's Day, is Women's Month. Every month is Women's Month. Everything is what is what. Maybe I should try and start and give you an ease there. The reason why I'm saying that is because women have got the, the, have got this thing that people think that as women we fight against each other. I don't subscribe to that. I think we also need to
Mm,
let's start there, because people will
mm,
always say, I know, I if you give women this, they will fight amongst each other and what and what. Hey, that thing to me, I don't subscribe to that, because I think that women are the one most important people or figure that makes things to happen. Uh, the netball South Africa president, when we were doing the mobilization for the World Cup last year, she kept on saying that if you want something to be done, send a woman, it will be done.
mm,
She kept on, Madam Cecilia Molegwane kept on saying that, and I didn't understand what she was doing, and I was like, Matom, what is she saying, and so forth. You understand? I think the most creative people in this whole wide world are women. That's what I think,
mm,
and I think that by the fact that we then term it into August only, I don't think it ends on August only. The celebration of women. The celebration of women does not end in August only. The celebration of women, Fahida, starts from home. When I
mm,
was telling you about when I needed to break the news, I didn't say to you I needed to break the news to my dad. I said I was very scared to break the news to my mom, who is a woman, because we know that when you have that relationship with your mother, it then becomes a relationship of a lifetime, where you know that this woman wants me to succeed in everything that I want to succeed. There are people out there, Fahida, that have never met their mothers, but they are mothers today and they are doing a wonderful job. Some of my friends, majority of my friends, are actually single mothers. I don't know where they get this power, Fahida. I don't know where they get this power of attending. We will go out partying, right? Because okay, Lona, hey, it's nice, we go partying. 7 a.m. The very same mother that was with me, 7 a.m. is attending a cricket game of his son or a daughter.
mm,
Sunday is ironing clothes for school, is doing homeworks and so many other things. Now, who does that? Only a woman can
mm,
do that. You understand? But what I'm trying to say to you is that the role even that a woman plays within the, Mina, my mother never had the privilege to watch me play football. She never. She was always told by people that, hey, your daughter can play, what. But from hearing from those people, she managed to support me from hearing from all those things. There are
mm,
many other mothers that out there have never seen their children playing sport, but they keep on motivating them. They keep on believing in them because as a mother or as a woman, we have this instinct within us that belief keeps us going, whether how many challenges that we face and how many challenges that we fight and so many other, but we have this thing that nobody can take away from women, which is called belief. Nobody can take it away. So the celebrations that are coming up in August, they are all fun and fair. I'm sorry if I'm sounding, but they but for me they start from the 1st of January until the 31st of December, because throughout the year women are all constantly saying, I'm gonna go to this game, I'm gonna watch this, I'm gonna buy those. Do you know how much these things, especially for single mothers that have got kids that play sport, do you know how much these outfits are costly?
Mm.
Like, let's say your son or your daughter plays cricket. Do you know how much that whole bag costs? And here we are talking about single mothers, but they still make it to happen. They still give this support to the children without taking any offense to mothers that have got partners and companions and so forth. You understand? But again, even them, for them to discuss, because when you want something, you don't go to dad. You always go to mom because you know that she's got a soft spot. And then mom is going to speak to dad. That's another job that mothers do. And then when it comes to the industry of sport, I think the growth of women in sport has been tremendous, has been excellent, has been, I mean, today I'm chatting to you. You are one of the casualties of women in sport. You understand? And tomorrow I'm going to be chatting to someone else who is one of the casualties in women in sport. There is growth. We can't be waiting for people to actually give us the compliment. We have to give ourselves the compliments, because these compliments, we've earned them. You're supposed to be doing something else, but you know that Sandman Sports needs you. You give it your time. I mean, you open up now all globally. Globally, you open up news channels, you find women there, which means, yes, there is a little bit of change that is actually taking place, and we need to focus on that. We need to, there are many other people that have fought all the battles that we go through probably as women and so forth, in terms of equity and so forth, and we applaud them. That's why we
Mm.
cannot actually, we can't disappoint them. Your Winnie Madikizela Mandelas, we can't be disappointing them for all the efforts that they have had. I mean, if you go back to the Netball World Cup last year, everybody, camera lady, floor lady, everyone, the production was all women.
Mm.
You understand? Which means that a broadcasting station as big as that one is embracing us as women. But we can't be sitting back and say, yeah, yeah, we need to wait now. We need to wait. Things must come and must come to me. No, we need to constantly work so that the next generation will find it, because there's a generation that was before us that made it possible for Lona to have their own sports consultants company. So we need to be very much fair to them. And I want to congratulate you, Fahida, together with your colleagues that are doing this podcast. You're doing an amazing job. And nobody's going to tell it to you, but you need to also tell it to yourself and say, I did it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words, Miss Lona. Thank you. We really appreciate it. It's a bit of an ego booster to keep us going for the rest of
You
the show.
must. You don't have a choice. You don't
But
have
I
a
mean,
choice. You have to keep moving.
it's true, it's true. But just to sort of s- send, like, kind of put a picture into what you're saying. I think there's a lot of product that came from, for instance, the Netball World Cup,
Yeah.
um, where we saw some women from, or female camera operators within the broadcasting space sort of
Yeah.
shift from there, and we've seen them. They've each one got a chance to be profiled for 5 seconds
Yeah.
on camera.
Yeah.
We saw them at the SA 20, for instance, and I think that
Exactly.
that is a great, it's a great showing of just just the growth in the world of sports,
Yeah,
and women in sport,
yeah,
whether it's on the field or behind the scenes or in the locker room.
yeah.
um there is a massive growth, and
There
you're
is.
right in saying
There
that. You're
is.
right in saying that. um and I think with that said, there's a lot of, unfortunately, there is a lot of growth that needs to be done. But with that positivity and with that mindset, I think it will continuously happen. We've
Yeah,
got the Cricket World Cup coming up, the Women's Cricket World Cup that's traveling to, I think, Sri Lanka. And there's a lot of work that will be done, going up to that. I think we've seen the growth in women's rugby in South Africa as well, where the space is growing both on the field and behind the scenes. I think credit to probably the best social media I've seen in South Africa, which is the Vodacom Bulls, and the Bulls Daisies, who've separated themselves as an
yeah,
entity from the
yeah,
Bulls men's team,
yeah,
and established themselves as a digital
yeah,
brand, and not just a team that plays rugby on the field.
yeah,
And I think that speaks to the great work of
mm,
of the digital space, and the knowledge of what marketing can do in
yeah,
growing not
exactly.
just a brand or an entity, but women's sports,
Yeah,
as a whole. And
yeah.
I'd like to think that it's women that are on the backstage of that.
It is. Um, it is. Fahida. You see, one of the other things that we must not shy away from saying is that there is still a very big room for women to be in the management positions, if I may say, put it like that. Because if you come to South Africa, I'll make a typical example with KZN. Probably there's about over 50 federations that are affiliated to Sports Confederation. And if you look at the numbers of the women representation in those, it's very much raising eyebrows, right? So those are some of the spaces that we still need to fill in, because the voices that we are making in this space, let's say in Sandman now, or if there was a podcast for Mabenya or so, they might not necessarily be enough for all of that. So in those good big platforms, we also need to be represented in them, so that the next generation will see that when you're doing these sport causes, you can be an administrator of swimming, whatsoever. I was very much impressed when I saw one of the football teams in South Africa launching their jersey. There's a team in Johannesburg that plays in one of the elite leagues of women. They did something that has never been done before. They launched their jersey. Now that should tell us how much of growth that is there, as much as we are still facing a lot of financial implications and a lot of other representative issues. But we can't shy away from the fact that they are really, 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 really trying. You understand? Because there's a lot of women's teams in South Africa, and we know that just before any other season, teams actually launch their new soccer kits and so forth. And when I saw this,
Yeah.
I was like, this is bravo. This is
Mm.
excellent. You understand? Because they're not waiting for the big, they're just using the small things that they have, and doing what are the norms that are being done, and it's done by women. You understand? So for me, I believe that there's still a huge room for us to actually get into those kind of spaces, in particular on leadership positions. People must not shy away from going into these federations and offering their services. They will walk up the ladder when the time is right.
A big event, probably the biggest we have in every 4 years. That's either currently underway. I think the opening ceremony is tonight, or it's happening this weekend.
Oh yeah.
The Olympics. The
Yeah.
Olympics is happening. We've seen um, the biggest names on the tracks, in the swimming pool, on the field, head up to France to represent the country.
Yeah.
The women blitz box, big names like Akani Simbine, Wade van Niekerk is also going to
Yeah.
be making his appearance. The likes of, oh my word, Tatiana Smith, no longer Schoenmaker. Who else? Oh, all the names escape me, but these are big brands.
Yeah.
I think someone that stands out in the entire Team South Africa, for me personally, I think is Courtney Paul, who's who's taken a massive step in the world of dance, with the with dance being included in the Paris Games this
Yeah.
year, and of course
Yeah.
she's sort of carried been the bearer of the flag of the world of dance to
Yeah.
represent South Africa, and to get the support from South Africa and from the Department of Sports
Yeah.
as a whole, and she's done particularly well. Before that, and it's been women in that team at the forefront. I can't remember the other lady's name, but it's just
Yeah.
I've seen them appear and sort of been the representatives,
Yeah.
just of dance, and I think I'm going to take a little bit of credit in from from a Durban perspective. They're representing the 031. I think they're doing a great job. I think
Yeah.
just your thoughts. I mean, the Olympics is a difficult one for a lot of countries, especially South Africa. We see
Yeah.
a lot of those athletes sort of hustle and raise funds to
Yeah.
get to that point, because it's the inverted commas smaller sports, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, Running, which is probably the easiest and the most accessible sport
Yeah.
in the world. The best athletes in running shoes are Africans.
Yeah.
Um, the biggest names historically have always been Africans.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we've seen the Springboks. Obviously, they're the champions of the world. They've gained a lot of sponsorships based on their success. But I mean, I think from 1995 and before that, even, aside from the history of South Africa, they've always been the top ranked.
Yeah.
And then cricket came in, and then football, and then sort of we just lose sight of everything else. I think netball has come slowly up the ranks, slowly but surely. I think hockey is also coming up. Running will always be there,
Yeah.
but still with with struggle, to sort of get that funding, because it's a one man game. But perhaps maybe your thoughts on how, what is the ranking for you? Which ranks first? Which is the most important? I know you're probably going to say football first because you are
No.
a former
No.
football player.
No.
I'm gonna take guesses now. Maybe netball is gonna come to the
No.
front.
No.
Oh, then
Absolutely not.
I
When it comes to when it comes to Olympics, I love athletics.
Hmm.
I love athletics. I love athletics. The field races. I'm a huge fan of the 200 meters. I'm a huge fan of the 100 meters. I'm a huge fan of the relay. Um, Mhlambe, perhaps before I can share my thoughts on Olympics is that, you know that, at some point I wanted to, in my life, I wanted to divorce politics from sports. And then I found myself battling internally, wrestling internally, that you can't divorce these things. You can't, some of the things that we some of the life that we live, they are highly influenced by the political climates that we might find ourselves into, be it as a country or as a province or as a region or whatsoever. And I think that perhaps the political instabilities and the political climate that we find ourselves in South Africa has had probably an impact on how we would have celebrated the Olympics. Because just as you were talking, you wanted to say that it's today or it's tomorrow, the ceremony, so we are living in that. There's been a lot of things that has been happening in our country which we cannot divorce their impacts on what happens into sports. There's a lot of things that has been happening, and we need to give credit to the athletes and the medical team, and the chef de mission and everyone that has traveled with Team South Africa, because previously we would had so many other vibes to celebrate the Olympics that are currently happening in Paris,
Yep.
but things are not the same. And that has happened
Yeah.
because of some of the political, economical issues that we have faced as a country. But nevertheless, with all that, we have a team in Paris that is going to be flying the South African flag so high. And we must also compliment the tennis player who came back with a gold. For me, it's there is no other highest level of sport participation that you will get more than the Olympics.
Yeah.
There's none. There is the Olympics games, and then there is the World Student Games. Oh, and then I must take credit for myself because I played in the World Student Games. There's World Student Games, and then you will find the third one, which is the FIFA World Cup and so forth. Now, there's no other sense of participation that you will get. For me, I think there is still a very huge gap in terms of the corporate industries within South Africa, in terms of the investment that they make,
Mm.
perhaps over the whole 4-year period in taking Fahida. If we identify Fahida as a potential podium finisher, if we identify you now in 2024, and we know that in 2028 Fahida will be in the Olympics, it cannot be the responsibility probably of government or the federations or whatsoever,
Yeah.
but it should be also the responsibility of all, maybe the corporates, to bring in the injection of the financial assistance or the injection of any other assistance that you might need as an athlete. Because remember, you're not going to participate kwamhlabi yalingana, you are going to the world championship, so you need all the support that you probably need to get. Why am I sharing that with you, Fatima? I think that maybe perhaps we need to go back. Coaches always say this: let's go back to the drawing board, let's go back to,
Mm.
we need to plan, we need to plan thoroughly for these podium finishes. You understand? I'm not saying that we didn't plan thoroughly. I just wish that we can multiply them maybe by 7, which is my lucky number, and give the athletes all the necessary support that we can ever give them, in particular from a corporate perspective.
Yeah.
And because I was watching the program on athletics on Netflix, which is called Sprinter, and you look at all the things that these athletes, in order for them to be world champions, they go through, and they need the support, they need all of that, and you're like, but you know what, that kid that is there, Gwanongoma, can do this thing, can
Yeah.
run more than one. You understand?
Yeah.
So when you find ways and means, I'm very happy that there is a big relationship that is starting to be created between the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture and Department of Education, because in Zulu or in Xhosa you'd always say inkunzi sematoleni. So if we find those things, those athletes at an early age, and put them on those elite programs, and I must also give compliment to the KZN Sports Arts and Culture Department, because they have an elite development program where some of these athletes that are coming from KZN into the Olympics have been nurtured through the Prime High Institution in Durban. But I
Mm.
still believe that there is a room for improvement, and there's a room for the investments to actually come in. But I love athletics. I'm sorry that I had to disappoint you about football and netball. you will find me in athletics when it comes to world sports.
I think it's also something that I've learned to love. Not that fast, but a longer race. I'm enjoying marathons and the ultra marathon of them all. The comrades. Slowly but surely, I'm learning the science behind running. I didn't know
Yes, you
running took so
are.
but yeah, I think with time everything will grow. People will learn. People will start to infiltrate spaces and see that there's opportunity for growth.
Yeah,
And leaving the coach to be the coach and the runner to be the runner, and not have them focus on other things to get money in,
yeah,
or investment into their sport, and just to get them across without any struggle.
yeah.
And I think that slowly but surely will happen through the power of this device.
You know
Um,
it. You know it. You're
I
carrying the world,
every
baby. Girl.
Yeah,
You're carrying the world.
everyone is slowly but surely learning the power of the phone and power of digital and
Yeah,
and AI and all these things. But
yeah,
obviously the master of all has taught
yeah.
us, and it's
Can
probably
I get an opportunity to ask you a question?
you may.
What do you like in sports?
What do I like in sport?
Yeah. Why
What
are you
don't
involved?
I
Why are
like?
you involved, Fahida, in sports?
I think the question should be, what don't I like and where am I not
No, no,
involved?
no. I know. My question is, what do you like in sports? Why are you involved with sports?
Why?
Yeah.
I think it's aside from the fact that I've always played sport. I've always been involved on the field. Um, I think it was an idea and an opportunity for me to. There's a gap where people weren't speaking about women in sport enough, and I saw it as my responsibility and my purpose essentially to
Oh,
take
that.
that and to bridge that gap,
Mm.
and take the conversation up higher. Um, yeah, I think that's why. Aside from getting the free tickets to go everywhere.
You're doing it, and you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you. I appreciate the compliments and your kind
You're
words. I really do.
doing an amazing job.
Um, thank you for constantly doing the work that you do, and inspiring without saying a word, just and your light and your great spirit and aura in the world of sports. I'm happy and honored and privileged to not just speak to you here today, but also share space with you when we are in the same space. Thank you for your time once again, for joining us and educating us and sharing your knowledge and your spirit and your kindness with us tonight.
Yeah. I think maybe I'm the one who's supposed to say thank you very much for your time. Because sometimes when you tell your own story, it becomes a wow and what. But one thing that we must always understand is that we are all in a motion of learning each other day in, day out. I'm not perfect in what I do. I always want to learn more from people like
Mm.
you. I know that today the questions were coming to me, but your answer was an answer that complements exactly what I do with the Mabenya Sports, because at the end of the day, I love the song from Beyonce that says I was here, and you just summed up that song for me. So, and I also want to thank everyone who has been very much supportive to the brand, Mabenya Sports, and so forth. There are doors that we never opened by ourselves, but they were opened by the people that see these kind of engagements that we do. They open doors, and one of your colleagues has opened doors that I can never even share on this platform for Mabenya. So as a proud Anglican, I always say to peace be with us and peace be with everyone that is watching this thing. And I'm hoping that Uguti, we will. It's not the first and the last time that we chat. It's gonna happen, and I'm very sorry that my dogs didn't come through to disturb us. But I was hoping that they would come and disturb us, and then you will see them and make them
Yeah,
famous.
we at least I featured in the background, so they they were there somewhere. But again, thank you so much,
No
Lona, for
problem.
your time and for
God
joining
bless
us.
and God
Um,
bless everyone.
thank you to whoever joined us on the lives on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Don't forget you can follow us at Sandman Sports across major platforms. You can follow Mabenya Sports on across a major
It's
platform.
just Mabenya Sports across here.
Yeah. Drop a DM if you need help, if you need work, if you need
Yeah,
assistance, if you need inspiration.
I follow
We are
back.
all there.
Yeah,
But
follow
yeah,
back.
thanks again. Thanks again.
Oh,
And that's it. We'll be back tomorrow as we chat to Unati Sibego about her work in broadcast and her rise to where she soon shall be in the world of broadcast.
thank you.